It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. We are off. The gates are open. We are live. Thank you so much for joining us on this live Friday worldwide transmission. Coming up, we have Joel Gilbert, filmmaker. By the way, we're carrying this film discounted at Infowars.com. It just officially came out today. Dreams from My Real Father. A story of Reds and deception and who Barack Obama's real father is. And it is a very compelling film. You cannot stop watching it once you put it in the DVD player. And it is available at Infowars.com, InfoWarsShop.com if you want to support the broadcast, the news organization, and the filmmaker. Dreams from My Real Father, directed by Joel Gilbert. He's going to be joining us coming up in the second hour today. And then if his Skype or phone works, either, because it is a UN model city, Rio de Janeiro, with the green Christ over the city now, the new religion of world government and dehumanization. Lord Monckton has some big breaking news, and he's going to be joining us for about 30 minutes coming up as well in the third hour. And sometime during the broadcast, because it's out there rendering right now, because it's high def, I have my review of The Dark Knight. And The Dark Knight Rises, the final installment with the Christian Bale piece, because it's full of propaganda. We happen to have been able to talk to somebody who did see one of the screenings, one of the focus groups. Now, they changed some of the editing after this person saw it. But we've pretty much got the plot, and we're going to spoil the whole thing here on air. It's what we do. I'm not going to give it all away. You notice, I mean, we did a whole review of Prometheus. It was all this speculation, and people are like, oh, there's no way this is really what it's about. And you notice, you go watch my review, Secrets of Prometheus Leaked, and 8-minute video. This one's 8 minutes too, and it's exactly what I said it was. And people are like, well, why review movies? Well, when it gets into directed transpermia, panspermia, what the elite believe in, that humans were seeded here by aliens, whether you believe that, whether it's true or not, the point is the ruling class believes this. And the documents that I present in that little piece on Secrets of Prometheus Film Leaked is accurate. And we show their quotes, the documents, the world leaders, what they're into, and that woke up a lot of people. Now, I will be reviewing the Rise of the Dark Knight, the final installment that's coming out. I will be giving you a review a little less than a month before it comes out, July 20th. And I'm not hurting their film. I'm doing it a favor, and I'm not going to spoil the whole thing. I'm mainly going to analyze the propaganda in it, because it's in all these major films. And people, especially the childlike adult men, who don't think of themselves as powerful or effective, but fantasize about supermen all day. That's why they never get off the couch. They never get involved, because they're children. They have the minds of children, arrested development, and they could never fight tyranny because they're not Superman or Batman or the Green Lantern. They can't fly around in outer space and fight, planet-sized demons like Green Lantern. And by the way, I can go see those films and enjoy them and think they're entertaining. But when I sit there watching 35, 40-year-old men oohing and eyeing and acting like my son, well, he acts less boy-like. It really freaks me out. That's what I'm saying. Nothing wrong with these films. If you're aware, you're being bombarded with propaganda. Nothing wrong with it. As long as you're aware of that, and as long as you don't mix fantasy with reality. But the big news is coming up. Stay with us. I haven't even gotten into the news. We'll be right back. It is Friday, the 22nd day of June, 2012. We're going to be live here for the next 3 hours, and then I will be back this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I haven't decided tomorrow, seems like tomorrow, I'm doing the interview tomorrow, Sunday, whether I'm going to air a Billy Corrigan, Smashing Pumpkins creator, interview on the Sunday show or next Monday. But I'm doing the interview tomorrow, just a program note for folks out there. It's being interesting music and political discussion. Boy, if I could just get Mr. Corrigan to really tell you what he thinks. He's been a long-time listener. We'll just leave it at that. He's been on before in studio here when he was in town. We hung out for a few days. But another very interesting mind. And he is going to be doing a quick interview with me tomorrow. Okay, wow, where to start here? Obviously, one of the big rating agencies, Moody's, has downgraded some of the big mega banks. But investors have pointed out, everyone's known this for a long time. And now they've gotten multiple bailouts for Spain, multiple bailouts for Greece, and all these other bailouts in places like Ireland and other places. And they call it a bailout, but most of the money, it's the same in every country, it's always over 90%, goes to the banks, who then lecture us on how we're spending too much and how we're the reason that we're going into a global depression. And then they point at the dependent people, government employees, welfare folks, and say that they're the cause of everything, when they're a very small part of it. And they're the group, though, that's dependent, whether they're good or bad, that the system then rallies out to call for more government, but the majority of the money goes to the bankers. But I'm going to get into this more later. It's just that Mario Monti, the big Goldman Sachs guy that they installed, they admit they installed him. Mr. Monti came out and said, we have a week to save the Eurozone. Every couple of weeks we hear, we have a week. Give us $200 billion more for Greece. Give us $100 and something billion this week for Spain. And oh, it's another $300 billion the next week. And now it's $500 billion. And you got 1 week to give us this money. And so you give the money to the banks. I was looking at numbers, even out of the Canadian papers that have come out in the last year, where they borrowed less than $50 billion in the 80s in Canada. The government did, from the private banks that own the private central bank up in Canada that they call a government bank, the National Bank of Canada. And now that money is over $400 billion. And it all comes from money that was paid back in just a few years, but it was designed to be paid back, part of it slower, so that now the country's in debt to these private banks that made it up out of nothing. You see, when you're a shareholder of the private Federal Reserve, or the private Bank of England, or the private other central banks around the world, and the stock of these banks is all owned by the same group. It's less than 10 banks globally, 6 big banks here in the United States. They're all interconnected to the European banks. It's all one big metastasizing cancer. And there's no way to ever pay it back. They designed the whole derivative scam so that it's mathematically impossible. It's a black hole. That's what they call it in financial circles, that sucks everything into it. And once they get their minions into office everywhere, they just keep holding you hostage, saying, give us $100 billion more this week, $300 billion the next week, $500 billion the next week. That's what they're saying right now. And it's always, or everything will collapse at the end of the week. We have 1 more week, but this will fix it this time. And then a week later, we need $500 billion more, or it will totally collapse. And they're saying, Germany, you haven't paid enough into the Eurozone. And Germany, by the way, is the one that's in the greatest debt now. And they act like it's Germany rising again. Germany runs the euro. Germany signed all of its sovereignty over to the unelected EU bureaucracy. So it's another red herring like, Shrewd move, Germany. You took over without firing a shot. And I told you years ago they would start with Greece because it's little, 2% of the Eurozone, and then make it, oh, it's all about those Greeks. Well, we've got to do it or the whole thing will come down. Oh, it's all about those Spanish. Oh, it's all about those Italians. Oh, it's all about those Swiss because they won't join the Euro. It's all about those Germans. It's all about those French. It's all about those. Yeah, those people, they only work 1 hour a day, and then they get months of vacation, and lazy people and everything. Yeah. And part of that's true because you've got giant government bureaucracies of bossy, henpecking agents that come and get in your face in these countries. And it is out of control. And there is, but it doesn't matter. That's what the banksters set up. That's their client group that squat on top of the countries in a parasitic fashion. You know, they tell the cops, as the memos have come out, you've got to write so many tickets. You've got to get so many arrests, quotas. Or we're going to have to lay off officers. And the cops go out, write the money, and it ends up going to the city or the county or the state, and most of it, around 76%, goes into international derivatives investments that's never coming back, and no amount of ticket writing, no amount of taxes is going to fix anything. In fact, they knew when they massively increased VAT and created a new expanded sales tax to be paid directly into the euro in Greece, that it would stall the economy. Less than 6 months into this, Greece is in cardiac arrest. All the major hospitals are working without pay. The power is going off. There are people starving on the streets. Crime has tripled in the last 6 months. This is in the news today. People are starving like it's Argentina in 2000, 2001. Go from the richest country in Latin America on par with the U.S. to just, I've talked to people that have been down there. Ted Anderson was down there a couple of years ago. Just good-looking families, not normal, drunk, homeless people living in doorways. Okay, just garbage everywhere, people crapping in the streets. I mean, this is what they'll do. And by the way, they've now done that to Greece. And so when you ratchet up the taxes in an already stalling economy, the news is tax receipts plummet in Greece. In fact, guys, I meant to cover that yesterday. It was in the stack. Just type in tax revenue plummets in Greece. What? Wait. You raise the taxes and less comes in? That's the plan. That's the plan. They've got them leveraged into total debt, made up by nothing by the bankers, on record. And now, look at California. They passed the carbon tax, 20-something%. Passed it last year. Starts going into effect this year, and already it's called the Great Exodus. You've seen that. Because hundreds of different types of businesses have the expenses passed on to them by the carbon taxes that are on key areas of the economy. And then out in California, second worst state for prisons, you're competing against prison industries with an average 23 cents an hour pay rate, building everything from solar panels to engine parts to telemarketing. You got 7 million people behind bars working for 23 cents an hour below the Chinese slave wage. And all these idiot good old boys wonder why they're going bankrupt. Yeah, they got cable TV in them prisons. Yeah, I saw it on TV. No, they don't. They've got cable TV in minimum security white-collar prisons because the white-collar people have set it up that way. Folks, in Texas, most of the prisons no longer have air conditioning, and they're not built to not have air conditioning. It's one thing if you had old, long buildings with windows on both sides you could open up. It's still hellish over 110 degrees inside. They have, the Texas prisons now in the last few years, most of them do not have air conditioning. Anyway, side issue. The point is that this is a total takeover of society. And they put the prisoners in who are nonviolent. They come out, can't get a job that they're felons now. And so they've now got a college degree in crime. And the crime rate goes up. The amount of drugs being shipped in goes up. The police get more corrupt. The society breaks down. And the new American culture is gangster thug criminality. Whether they're white kids, black kids, Hispanic, MTV, the culture, the kids being funneled into juvenile. They funnel kids in there now who are late 3 times the class. The law doesn't say that in Texas. Same all over the country. but they trick the parents into signing a further adjudication. Then the kid gets in trouble in the next year, is sent to juvie, and the first day your 10-year-old, your 12-year-old is raped in juvenile and learns to become a gangster and do all those things, or they get killed. And you wonder why you go to the mall or anywhere and people look and act like animals now, because it's designed. The American dream has been killed by the prisons and killed by the drug war. And you're going to have more criminals, more thugs, more collapse, all scientifically planned by the social engineers, and they all wrote books on it bragging how they do it. And you know what? They did it. They did it. They did it. And now they want Agenda 21 to make it too expensive to live outside mega cities. Whoever could run, they call it white flight, but other people that could ran too, have run to the country. And they've got their kids. I mean, I've seen the statistics. I was in school, high school 20 years ago, and things were very promiscuous. It was wild. I mean, I cannot believe how wild it was. And I went to school in Dallas, and then I went to school here. Wild everywhere. Wild. I've looked at statistics, because Rob Dew was telling me about this last night. I looked it up. Young people are 4 times more promiscuous than when I was in high school. They don't even ask each other's names now. STDs are exploding. Abortions, just bam, 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 wrecking these girls' wombs. The society is collapsing. Just like Mexico's collapsed and nobody will tell you, America's beginning its collapse, and the media won't tell you. Or they'll look at spots and offer government as the solution when it was all engineered. They've raised the taxes in Greece, it's collapsing. They raised the taxes in California. They know it was going to collapse. They want to get all the pieces. Okay, I started getting into the first little stack of news and digressed off for an entire segment. But coming up, I'll get more into the designed world depression run by the captains of the New World Order, the bankster, fraud, con artist, Bernie Madoff, Ken Lay types that rule our globe and should all just go to jail and the whole nightmare could end. But the general public has no idea what planet they're even on or how things work. Again, I'm not elitist in saying this. I look at adults and I people watch and I talk to folks, and it is amazing how many executives and millionaires and people that are successful I talk to who are so specialized in their one area, they know nothing else. And they don't want to know anything else. Well, no wonder you're going to have your lunch eaten and we're going to be overrun and everything's going to collapse. This is a very decadent society, ladies and gentlemen. Very decadent. And the power structure does not fear the people enough. And so the sky is the limit, and the worst elements of society are being allowed to take over. We're all seeing the latest on Syria. Here it is right here. Starving Greeks line up for food in their thousands as debt-wrecked country finally forms a coalition government. But how long will it last? Pelosi says hold her contempt charge about suppressing vote. We're going to continue going over all that. Also, people who are American citizens, but they get asked, they say, are you Iranian when you go to the Apple store? And they say, we can't sell to anyone of Iranian derivation because there's a ban on selling technology to Iran. You got to love that George W. Bush era thing where only Halliburton was allowed to sell stuff to Iran. They had the sanctions put on, and then only Halliburton could sell them all their oil-filled equipment at 3 times what it cost. It's just total criminal global government scams. That's what it's all about monopolies. So that's an interesting article. MMR causes autism, proven in Italian court case. Study, this is CBS News, obesity could lead to depletion of Earth's resources. So, again, they're going to start taxing you if your carbon footprint's too big from eating. You're like, oh, yeah, and they're going to ban big soft drinks and milk and popcorn. Oh, they did? Oh, it's spreading from New York? Oh, the ATF's back out saying they want to ban most shotguns. See, it's all happening. And they're going, we don't need Congress to take your shotgun. We've bought armored pillboxes and drones and wheeled tanks, and we're coming for you. We want a war with you because we're criminals. Ha-ha! And if you protest us, we'll just blow up another Oklahoma City and blame it on you. That's the good old ATF. Oh, they wouldn't ship guns into Mexico to blame the Second Amendment. They wouldn't bomb Oklahoma City. even though we know all the names of the people involved and have all the eyewitnesses, including police officers, the ones they didn't kill, like Terrence Yakey, who saw it all. I mean, you know, Eric Holder's a nice man who was Deputy Attorney General at that time, and we have the email from court cases where he said, this is a D-Day level emergency. Get down to Oklahoma City and cover this up. Oh, because some little boom booms didn't quite go off right inside the little building, huh? Oh, that was a sweet little thing you did, you sweetheart little sweetie cake. There's such a nice people running things. Oh, we're all going to be real safe if we don't talk about it. We all just need to go along with what they say, and they're going to be nice to us. They promise. They promise. Or we could just have them all arrested and get the country back and admit the crimes that have been committed by the banksters that hijacked this country. This is a short segment. When I come back, I'm going to get into our top stories. Again, House committee suspects Fast and Furious cover-up. The Washington Times says that. Well, the House committees, you suspect a cover-up? We have the press conferences up at Infowars.com, proof that Obama knew about Fast and Furious. You think Hitler knew about the Nazi Party? You think Stalin knew about the Soviet Politburo? Do you think the Easter Bunny knows about Easter? Does the Lucky Charms leprechaun know about Lucky Charms cereal? Does the NFL know about football and tailgating? Does water know about wet? Do fish know about water? Does the sun know about rising? I mean, really? You think there might have been a cover-up when it's all public and it includes shipping drugs in, and that's in the federal courts in Texas and Illinois? And shipping hand grenades out and shipping weapons to drug gangs all over the U.S. to kill the other drug gangs? I mean, you think maybe there's a cover-up when they've been caught lying? Really? And you know, I hear there might be a compromise now. Oh, yeah, they may just let them walk. Because the Republicans have been involved in stuff like this, too. You ever heard of Iran-Contra? You know, we schedule a lot of informative guests on the show, but something I want the producer team listening to me right through the studio window there to write this down so I don't forget, because I've been meaning to do this for years, and I do it occasionally randomly when I get a wild hair. But I want to start blocking out areas 2 or 3 times a week, a full hour. And you guys can stand behind me with a cattle prod if I don't do it. And we'll have blocks where, say, Monday in the 3rd hour, I open the phones up to TSA whistleblowers. Or I open the phones up to military whistleblowers about secret military operations that are illegal inside the United States. You don't have a right. You have a duty and a right to report on that. We should have whistleblower hour at least twice a week. And so I want to launch whistleblower hour. And so we'll just start, you know, you guys can pitch ideas at me. I can come up with ideas. We'll block it in so that it's official. We say tomorrow, you know, if it was a Monday, we'll say tomorrow, next, you know, tomorrow's Tuesday, if today was Monday. In the 3rd hour, we will take calls from TSA whistleblowers. And then we'll get a call, and I'll say, that sounds interesting. And then we'll put them on hold, and they can give us proof of who they are, and it'll be even bigger. We need to really start using the attributes we have, which is millions of listeners. Every time there's a tragedy, a mass shooting, or also something you know, breaking in the news, we always have people right there on the campus calling in with the ambulances and the sirens in the background. I can be anywhere in the U.S. and say, yeah, I'm here, you know, over here at this trailer park, you know, parked here in the SUV doing the radio show, or parked here in the bus, and 20 minutes later somebody pulls right in there, a listener. I mean, in the middle of nowhere in Arkansas or Virginia or California. We have listeners everywhere. And not just in the U.S. We can open the phones up during the flu in Mexico and just load the lines. We have our own computerized lines so we can take over 100 calls, and just hundreds of calls from Mexico about what was happening with the flu down there and what was really developing. Remember back when that was happening. I want to open the phones up for Australians to call in because the carbon taxes start next Monday across the board. Prices in some areas are going to go up 50%. You order lamb chops, it's 50%. Because those are eating grass that's for the carbon, and it's bad, and they have flatulence, so the big tax. I mean, just hundreds of taxes inside of it. Whatever the bureaucrats want, they can give waivers to their friends. And this is the global model. This is what's starting up here. And I'm going to open the phones up to Australians. Or I can open the phones up to Germans. Well, what do you think? Being told you've got to bail out all these big banks and, quote, welfare recipients in these countries. I mean, that's going to be a powerful and informative and news-making sector of this show. So I am ordering my crew to make me, because you know I'm like a bird dog, runs off down rabbit trails. That's a good thing and a bad thing. But I need to be, directed here sometimes. So I'm the program director here, but I'm telling you guys to make sure I stay on the straight and narrow here. And we can, like in a Pavlovian fashion, we'll mount shockers in the chair, just a small shock. And then when I'm interrupting too much because I get hyper, my brain's burning with information, you just bzzz, bzzz. All right, that's enough. Be the first radio show ever where like enough people vote, people are mad at me. Suddenly a big cattle prod comes down out of the ceiling. You think the show would have high ratings if we did that? See, I'm not trying to just get ratings here. I'm trying to just tell the truth and cover the news, but there's a lot of funny stuff we could do. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. I'm digressing. Let me get to our top story today. Out of all this news we've already mentioned and everything that's coming up and the guests we have joining us. Like Joel Gilbert, who wrote Dreams from My Real Father, a story of Reds and deception. Pretty compelling case that they've discovered who Obama's real daddy is. So that is coming up. The filmmaker will be joining us. And in the third hour, for about 30 minutes, we're going to have Lord Monckton pop in from Rio de Janeiro with his big report. It's always informative. A lot of times breaks big news here. They're making the treaty this time secret, but he has his ways of ferreting these things out. He's been locked out of the conference as well. If he had police beat him up once, even though just for no reason, that was on video. He was talking to a reporter, cop comes over and tackles him. That was in Copenhagen. He had to parachute in when they were locking him out in Durban last year. That's on video. I'm not joking. He said, "Alex, have you seen me parachute in?" I had him on the nightly news. I went, "No, really, you did?" They pull it up, and I'm watching Monckton parachuting out into the event. And then side issue, I'm digressing. That's coming up. Now, this next story should get me really mad, but it's why they're discredited and it's why they're a joke. I didn't notice this until about almost a week into it. And I happened to see a comment about newspapers all over the Midwest especially ran syndicated columns. And it turned out there were a bunch of them. So this was done in a concerted effort. All over the Midwest, but also in Montana, Wyoming, everywhere there's rural people that are a little bit more street smart when it comes to not trusting the government, people that live closer to reality than some of the modern city folks that only watch Dancing with the Stars. I saw listeners commenting saying, "Alex, you got to get on this. It's in both my local papers, and it's in papers all over the Midwest." And then I investigated. It was all over the country. When I say 500 publications, it was 500 plus that came up on Google News if you typed in EPA drones. Okay, this is just a few days ago. Now it's hundreds more. So there is a concerted effort everywhere, all over newspapers, so many I can't even keep track of it, saying, "Oh, the hoax has been exposed. There are no drones. No drones are coming. There were never drones." And the evil, well, only 15 or so that I've seen, say Alex Jones, Matt Drudge, DrudgeReport.com, Infowars.com. Normally they just blame others that picked up my report that Drudge picked up that others then picked up. But we're in there as the culprits, as the source of the lie. And we are deceptive. We are discredited, they say. We have been routed. It's just Washington Post, LA Times. Of course, the LA Times had another article the same day, 3 days ago, saying it's incredible. People are really upset about the drones everywhere, and drones over L.A. and drones here and drones there. But then they had other articles saying the crazy people think there's drones. What's happened here is this has captured people's imagination. It's finally something, a symbol. Wait a minute, the drones that are used to kill the evil brown people. I mean, that's kind of the archetypal idea, the evil turban people, the evil 9/11 Vipers that the globalists publicly fund to attack Syria and Libya and everywhere else. There's more news of that today. Well, it's okay to have drones killing them, but still people know, well, these are remote control. Some of these are autonomous, AI computers, Terminator, Skynet. We don't like this, but I guess it's okay. It's for Al-Qaeda. So this really became a big issue, and states were getting upset, and they introduced legislation on Monday in the House. Ron Paul has supported it. Rand Paul has supported accompanying legislation in the Senate. It was really gaining traction. So what do? They play possum. Oh, there's no drones. No. The people on Fox News, what's her name? Megyn Kelly? I forget. Yeah, we have the clip in there. She got it wrong. It was not unmanned drones. It was EPA spying on farmers and ranchers all over the country in Cessnas with camera pods. So yes, we're spying, but it's not drones, and you're discredited. And all they did was go into our article, and with one link about their spying, and then we had other links about their research projects using unmanned drones to spy, and they just took that one area and built a straw man and said it wasn't true. And ran 500-plus articles on the news, just clicking Google News, thousands of hits I saw on blogs and Democratic operative sites, just saying, it doesn't exist. Alex Jones, the evil kook, conspiracy theorist, right-wing extremist, and then his cohort Drudge that picked it up and made it go viral, and everyone picked it up, and they're discredited, and the Fox News girl, she said, okay, we're wrong. It's not drones, it's manned aircraft spying. And the Daily Show picked it up. It's so funny. So I called Watson up, and he was on vacation for a week and a half visiting family. He gets back. I talked to him Wednesday night, and I said, listen, I know I've read articles on air, and I said, I've sent some to you. Do an article on this. I said, I sent you a list of the EPA, the FDA, the Department of Agriculture with all these drones. And they've been buying them since 2009, 3 years ago. Here it is. So he did the article today. He did the article today, and here it is. He went and found a whole bunch more, and it's admitted, and yes, they're doing it. Of course they are. I saw articles 5, 6 years ago, and we pulled them back up, where they have the NSA spy satellites. First article I saw was in the Denver Post, and it was about farmers building barns when they've been told they can't with environmental laws, and being caught expanding a barn with a spy satellite. I mean, and I pulled up the other day, literally 15 articles, 20 articles, a big stack, and read them on air about this. Okay? So, yes, it's going on. And it just shows how they roll it all out and say they're spying on you, and they're arming them, and there's Predator drones run by the Air Force arresting people on their ranches in North Dakota. I mean, you saw that last year. And there have been more arrests now. And they're using them. And they're coming on people's property. And so we finally wake up. People finally get upset. They get up in arms politically. And the psych warfare goes, it doesn't exist. And there's all these condescending articles laughing at everyone strategically in all the farming towns. I mean, my listeners have been calling me, sending me clippings of it. It's just everywhere. There are no drones. It's no big deal. Oh, but we are watching you with Cessnas. They've been doing that for 20 years. Now it's getting bad. They fly over, and after a rainstorm, this is happening all over the country now, and they either say you've got a puddle that formed in a ravine on your property and then come and say it's a wetland and try to take it. They're actually taking houses every day. I see it every few weeks, but if you look, there's just thousands of cases a year. I mean, it's crazy. Look it up. Or they go and they show that you've got a feedlot on your own property and it rains, and they show brown water running off towards a stream a half-mile away. And they come with fines with that as the evidence and fine you for that life. Little bits of cow manure. There have always been bovine and animals walking around. There were probably more buffalo roaming than there are cows today. They've done metric breakdowns on that, actuaries. What do you think their dung did, ran into the rivers? What do you think makes the big Nile Delta so healthy? For the fish. You ever watch National Geographic? That would be basically a dead river if it wasn't for, wait for it, hippopotamus poop. Again, this is part of life on our planet. If a pig farm, the big industrial pig farm, with 500,000 pigs and toxic methane dumping out, killing rivers, they always get left alone if they're big agro. No, it's little farms, little ranches everywhere. There's a guy who creeps around who's part of one of these groups where we've got a family ranch back to 1830 in East Texas, and he goes around harassing people and doing all sorts of stuff and trying to cause problems. And it's like the mafia, and the local town ends up kissing his hind end to make him leave him alone. How about people get back in his face? You see, it's pathetic what we've turned into as a country. And we're just so accustomed to the mainstream media lying about us, we don't even get upset about it anymore. I mean, they called yours truly, a liar, that I published, quote, bogus articles to deceive people. And occasionally we get something wrong or a date wrong, or I mean I make mistakes, but not as much as a lot of people. We've got a pretty good track record. It sounds wild what we talk about because reality is so wild. But the mainstream media, they try to lie so many times, especially if it's been politicized. If it's just, this car wrecked here at this intersection, it's usually true. Or if it's watermelons cost this much at Winn-Dixie this week. Or this mayor got reelected, or they're putting in a bypass on the highway here, or this company went bankrupt. Yeah, that's true. But when it's some big political agenda and you see it in 500 newspapers in a week that there are no drones, that is a specific order that goes out from the highest levels of the power structure that, whoa, just like the TSA thing, this drone thing, people are realizing, hey, we're the enemy now. Our money's being used against us. There's this Skynet above us that's flying, and government loves that idea that it's God, and they're going to, with our tax money, launch 30,000 drones. It's all been announced. And then we start talking about it. Drudge breaks the Berlin Wall of media blackout. It goes viral, and then they freak out. Yeah, this that Missoulian article was syndicated in a bunch of places out of Montana. Show folks that. That's one of the articles where it says, conservative talk radio host Alex Jones published the bogus drone story on his website, Infowars.com, on June 4th, complete with a photograph of a military drone flying through blue skies. Yeah, with a link to Wired Magazine and CBS about them arresting people with military drones over the U.S. for farming infractions. I mean, it's in the news. The next day, the New American, a bi-weekly owned by the ultra-conservative John Birch Society, reported the bogus story. The story credited Nebraska's congressional delegation for the news. The gist of the New American story was that drones are being used to spy on large feedlots where cattle urine and feces, highly concentrated and potentially threaten water supplies. It goes on how it was picked up by Fox News, and then they got asked questions, at the White House press conference, and it's, so terrible, and there's other articles about the evil Drudge Report's the one that did it. He's got too much power. People don't listen to us anymore. It's terrible. This is what they do. Well, here's the article, and I want folks, I noticed in almost all these articles, though, I clicked on them, our people were hammering and going, what about this link? What about Wired Magazine? What about the admissions of the drones being used by the government for environmental reasons? And manned aircraft. The point is we're being spied on. The point is you don't want momentum building to kill legislation. You want to act like it's not fashionable to be against drones. See, it's all about you being ignorant. They think you're stupid, and you'll just, it's not fashionable? I get laughed at if I talk about them? I better not talk about them then. I get laughed at if I talk about a new world order? Here's our article at Infowars.com. Yes, the EPA is using spy drones to monitor farms, and we link to mainstream news and to the EPA. So there it is, since 2009, almost 3 years ago, and we have the links to it. Yes, the EPA is using spy drones to monitor farms. Federal agency developed UAVs years ago to keep tabs on land use. And it goes on right there, mainly about areas where they say you're not allowed to build on your own property because the feds just dropped by, or for wetland designation, a puddle, they'll literally take your property, and there it is. In the particular case of the feedlots, where the state folks complained, the legislators, they were using manned ones. But it doesn't matter. That's how they build straw men and play games. Have they announced 30,000 drones? Yes. Are they using them to spy on us? Yes. And we have this article from one of the festivals in Miami. Drone used to spy on Miami partygoers. And I went and checked. This is the drone the police department bought. I found newscasts with this drone and others. And it was flying around watching people partying. So there it is, being used against evil partygoers. Drone used to spy on Miami partygoers. See the video at Infowars.com. Big John, Big Bad John. I'm sorry, sing-along time is now over.
Nobody seemed to know where John called home. He just drifted into town and stayed all alone. Didn't say much, kind of quiet and shy, but if he spoke at all, he just said hi to Big John.
Good old, it's Jimmy Dean, isn't it?
He came from New Orleans.
People think Jimmy Dean just makes sausage. I'm sorry, folks. Pretty good country music right there. Sent a Louisiana man to the promised land.
Big John.
All right, we're back.
Big John.
Big John.
Big John.
Big Bad John.
Big Bad John.
Okay. Coming up, we're going to, again, talk to the maker of Dreams from My Real Father. It investigates the providence and the real identity of Barack Obama. And it's pretty darn compelling. In fact, my good old boy guts, my hound dog snout, my bloodhound snout, tells me, ding, 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 we got it. We got your daddy. We know who your daddy is. Your mama, your daddy, your greedy, greedy granny went beep, beep, beep down Sesame Street. So we're going to be, hey, my buddy, I remember my buddy's little sister actually had like some of the early hip-hop rap in like the early 80s. She was like 3 years old. It was playing on one of those 45s, you know, on a child's record player. That's an actual rap there. I didn't come up with that. I'd be plagiarizing if I didn't tell you that I remember hearing that on some Sesame Street comedy record or something, I think it was. Oh, my gosh, we've now really plunged into weirdness. Hey, it's gallows humor. I can't just be serious all the time. This stuff gets to me, okay? Oh, boy. So, by the way, I saw the comments on this article at Infowars.com by Paul Watson, drone used to spy on Miami partygoers. And the folks that shot it, you know, they have these Bay Party deals they do, the Miami Beach Memorial Day weekend celebrations, and it's kind of a hip-hop crowd out there all dressed up in bathing suits. It is the beach. And I see all these comments. You've gone to a new low showing us this hip-hop garbage, Jones. This is absolutely disgusting. What, that people like to drive around and dress up in fancy cars and go have fun at the beach? There are worse crimes. And I see comments like, good. They look dangerous. It's good to watch them with a drone. The point is there's 30,000 drones being launched. And, I mean, it's a lot of the comments here are like, this is not family material. It's some women in bathing suits at the beach. The point here is that it's an exhibit, because this is the only video of the drone, and I went and searched the term drones in Miami, and they've bought 3 different ones. They've got a big one that's like a mini Predator that flies around at up to 10,000 feet watching people quietly. And they got one that sounds like a weed eater taking off. And then they've got this one. And it's got flashing lights. They want you to know it's there. It's a police drone, and it's the only video of it in action. I'm sick of everything becoming, oh my gosh, I saw some women in some bathing suits. Okay, don't watch the video if it's so incredibly horrifying. Okay? I don't think it's women in bathing suits you don't like. I think it's black people you don't like. Anyways, that's another issue. I never got to this yesterday, and I've got to get to it. This is the media doing this. They've got these new ads out, billboards, TV ads. I want to play one of them, where it says being white is inherently unfair and evil. And they're running these. And see, I'm going to give you the rest of the story. Do you know what these ads actually do? These are actually meant to create racial division so the government can be the referee, and so people never actually become friends and get along. This is to make everybody uncomfortable, and it's going to actually cause white people to not hire black people. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are into hour number 2. And for the next 40 minutes or so, In fact, guys, I watched this weeks ago when I was sent it. It just came out a few days ago, but I was sent an advance copy. That was in even another DVD case than this. But is there even a trailer for this? Because I saw it, I guess it was more like a month ago. I was sent a screener. We're now carrying it at Infowars.com. Dreams of My Real Father, Joel Gilbert. But is there a trailer for it? We need to get that added to the Infowarshop.com so folks can watch that, because I want to be able to play some of that on air. It doesn't matter. The director is coming on. And when I first heard about this, I'm like, yeah, well, you know, we don't really know who Obama is, but, you know, this could be far-fetched. But when you actually watch the film, it is pretty darn compelling. In fact, back up, jack up the audio on that. Let's play the trailer right now before we come back to him. And then we got Lord Moncton joining us from Rio with an update. And I'm going to give you the inside scoop on the police state brainwashing of the new Batman movie coming out. And people think when you say police state, police have said to me, well, why are you bashing police? That'd be like saying Hitler set up a police state. You're not against the German police. You're saying don't let yourselves be turned into something bad. Everyone knows North Korea is a police state. Everyone knows Guatemala is a police state. Everyone knows Mexico is a police state. Everyone knows areas of Russia are a police state. We don't want to be like that. We want due process. I mean, it's real simple. Here is the trailer for Dreams from My Real Father, available discounted with a free citizen rulebook, I should add, and it supports us and the filmmaker at Infowarshop.com. Here it is. Dreams from My Real Father.
My father was a foreign student, born and raised in a small village in Kenya. He grew up herding goats.
Frank Marshall Davis, writer.
Of course, it's showing the FBI files. It turns out that Obama's so-called father, the Kenyan, was not tortured by the British. That's fake. The whole book's been proven to be fake, Dreams of My Father. We just don't know who he really is. We know who he says he is.
I have a collection of intimate portraits called Horizontal Cameos.
That's his mother, naked. I mean, holy mackerel. She was a porn CIA operative. Oh, my gosh. This is some dangerous stuff here.
The free market, it doesn't work. It has never worked.
40 years ago, when I was 8 years old,
mainly showing the documents for radio listeners. He is totally compromised.
The American people will embrace the change.
Did you know that Bill Clinton's mother was a prostitute?
The doors that have been open to me aren't open to them.
It's like they've got to totally have you.
Obama needs us, Acorn. But we need Obama, don't we?
Listen to that idiot.
Abraham Lincoln School. This was a progressive school.
There are kids who still believe in the American dream. They think it exists.
We are 5 days
I knew
away
that woman.
from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
There's Daddy.
In the last few decades, the average income of the top 1%.
Take it then from the carelessness of the money drunk.
It's his dad. Looks just like him, talks like him, hung out with
in
Mama.
the reaching hands of the little people.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back. If you're a radio listener and you can't see this, it's unbelievable. And the stuff, I mean, that's his mother. That's his mother. I mean, if it's a Photoshop, it's the best I've ever seen. #1 New York Times best-selling author about a month ago, Dr. Jerome Corsi, told me I had to see this film, Dreams from My Real Father, directed by Joel Gilbert, who's joining us via video Skype for TV and radio listeners here in just a moment, a story of Reds and deception. And he started telling me the claims in the film. It wasn't out yet, and I was sent a screener a few weeks ago. And after I saw it, it fit into a lot of the research we've done. Again, we don't know who Obama is. That's been proven. It was just in the news yesterday in the Daily Mail, Obama's grandfather tortured by the British, a fantasy like most of the president's own memoir. And they now have had to admit, the White House came out, last year and said, well, a lot of the memoir is just a composite, what we'd like to say. It's fiction, parts of, I mean, his name was Barry Soetoro. He had this other name. He looks nothing like the Kenyan dad. The State Department had his dad thrown out, saying it wasn't his dad. He had a dead person's Social Security number. Everybody knew him as Barry. All these other fake names. Nobody's got stuff sealed. His Harvard, papers have been sealed, but then we get some of them. We get his publicist for 17 years, 16 and a half years, saying he was born in Kenya. His wife in speeches saying just 4 years ago, he was born in Kenya. We went back to his homeland, Kenya. His grandmother saying it. The records are cut out over there. But then did she go over there to have that story that he was born there, and then later they changed it? I don't know. Because the guy they say is his daddy. It'd be like if they showed James Earl Jones and said, well, his last name's Jones. He's Alex Jones' daddy. It looks nothing like Alex Jones. The Kenyan dad, totally different shaped skull, different nose. You can tell the different African tribes by the way they look nothing like Barack Obama, who looks like he's about 80% white. Well, dreams from my real father. It's unbelievable. And it's got shocking research and supposedly Obama's mother in compromised positions. And then I was thinking back, wait, Bill Clinton's mother was an admitted lady of the night. And the guy they said was his dad wasn't his dad. And then we know she frequented with Governor Rockefeller. And then I looked into that, 15 years ago, and it was all true. And then his mother dies right as he's elected. Obama's mother dies right as he's elected. Amazing. And so this is the type of people they want, totally compromised. His mother's CIA, his grandmother's CIA, the granddaddy, that's all admitted. So we don't really know who this guy is. We know his mother is who they say, from my research. Now, we have this video discounted. It just came out this week at Infowars.com. You also get a free Citizen Rule book. It supports us, supports the filmmaker. This is a very powerful film. It's available again at InfoWarsShop.com. You've got to see it. We're going to, for people watching on the video stream, we're going to show some side-by-side photos and things. We'll describe these for radio listeners on XM and other stations out there, terrestrial stations. But it is powerful. You got to see it. Because I was kind of like, yeah, there's some evidence. I put it in. And it's like, whoa. And caution, if there's children watching, they cover up the genitals and things, but it is somewhat pornographic as well. So just be aware of that. But this is coffin nails politically to Obama. And the point is, even if he's a puppet, he's totally blackmailed by foreign interest. We're in grave danger, ladies and gentlemen. This guy is not who he says he is. Now, the director is Joel Gilbert. I'm not going to try to even go over all of his bio, but he is a contributing editor for National Security and Foreign Policy, FamilySecurityMatters.org, and appears frequently as foreign policy analyst, national radio shows, TV, major institutes, briefing councils, briefing governments, you name it. I'm not going to get into his whole bio, but he joins us here today, and Joel, this is really scary stuff. I mean, I would imagine you're watching your back. I'm going to try to shut up and give you the floor, but this is pretty compelling. I have a lot of questions. Tell us about yourself, how you discovered this, and your basic thesis about who this guy really is. Again, thank you for joining us.
Okay, great to be here, Alex. Thank you. I got into this really accidentally. If you look over my shoulder, if you can see on the Skype, I produced a film a couple years ago called Atomic Jihad, Ahmadinejad's Coming War and Obama's Politics of Defeat. And when I researched that film, I watched over 200 speeches of Barack Obama. And I noticed something very strange. Every time he spoke about the rich and the poor, he became very excited. His voice went up a full octave, and he would scream and be so happy. And then he'd go to another subject, and he'd be calm again. And that set me off to think this guy has a passion for class struggle. It was very obvious, but it did not fit his background. I knew he went to an exclusive prep school. He went to Harvard Law. So I read his book, Dreams from My Father, and I saw many, many references to Marxism. He specifically went to Occidental College He arrived at Occidental College at age 18, admittedly as a committed revolutionary Marxist. He went into organizing. He went into socialist conferences. I realized it was a life journey in socialism. So I said, well, what was his experience that he could show up at 18 years old as a Marxist? He must have had a very different experience than any of the other kids at the exclusive Punahou School. So I noticed a very interesting passage in Dreams from My Father where he said that he would visit Frank Marshall Davis's house, the communist propagandist, with his grandfather regularly since age 10. And he said, quote, when I visited Frank, it was as though I was witnessing some complicated, unspoken transaction between Frank and my grandfather. Now that was pretty strange. So I decided to investigate Frank Marshall Davis. And right away you could see that Davis has a striking resemblance to Obama. Same height, 6'2", same forehead, same eyes, the jawline, shocking resemblance, while the Kenyan Obama looked nothing like him. So I said, well, how could that be? And that started about a 2-year investigation where I dug up archives of Frank Marshall Davis from 2 universities that were buried. I went to Hawaii and investigated Davis. I found 500 copies of the Honolulu Record, which is a newspaper, communist-run newspaper that Davis wrote for. And I found that Davis was not only the biological father of Barack Obama, but also the ideological father. In Davis's writings, which I include a lot of those newspapers in the DVD, he flawlessly mirrored official Soviet propaganda. He was a member of the Communist Party. He actually came to Hawaii. He was sent to Hawaii by Communist Party USA in 1948 on the orders of the Kremlin, Comintern International, to help foment a communist takeover of the islands. At that time, the Russians felt that Hawaii was an obstacle to Russian expansion in Asia. So Davis went to Hawaii and helped lead a communist attempt at taking over the government with the ILWU, was the International Longshoremen's Association. It eventually failed. But Davis went on to write in favor of socialized medicine. He blamed America for starting World War II. He denounced the Marshall Plan. He supported socialized medicine. He wanted wealth redistribution. So I concluded at that time that the people who were asking, where's the birth certificate, were asking the wrong question. That the real question was, who's the real father? And that's the key to understanding Barack Obama's plans for the country, and that's the key to understanding his ideology. But I'm convinced, and you can look at the film and see all the evidence, that Davis is in fact the biological father. And I found convincing evidence that Obama's mother, Ann Dunham, had an intimate relationship with Davis. Found over 30 photos of Ann Dunham in various compromising states of nudity. We covered everything up with black bars to be respectful. But we show that there was an intimate relationship with Davis. I actually went to the house in Hawaii. There's a photo if you're on Skype. And we found, I took the measurements, and there's Ann and all kind of compromising things, but we took the measurements and found that that was the house, and the photos are traced to Davis, who was a amateur photographer. So on the one hand, there was absolutely, and there is absolutely no evidence that Obama's mother, Ann Dunham, ever even met the Kenyan Obama. No evidence they were married, no photos, nothing. We have a lot of evidence of an intimate relationship between Frank Marshall Davis, the communist propagandist, and Ann Dunham, Obama's mother.
So the whole Kenyan thing is elaborate to throw us off and make us think that's what's going on.
I believe it's all subterfuge to avoid a much, much darker past.
Now, I mean, let's be clear. Let's go back to Ann Dunham, though. I mean, it looks just like her. I've blown it up. These are not photoshopped. How did you get these photos? Go through all that. You've been to the house. You've looked inside. It matches the photos. This is bombshell.
Yeah, it matches the floor. It matches the photos. And the photos are obvious evidence. I want to state one more piece of strong circumstantial evidence. Davis, of course, is known for writing a book called Sex Rebel Black. He talks about 30 years of nefarious activities and sexual deviation and being interested in young girls and so on. So Ann Dunham, think about it. She takes Barry to Indonesia for a couple years. She comes back from Indonesia and tells Gramps, Obama's grandfather, something to the effect of, I'm going back to Indonesia, but you know the guy that I used to pose nude for that engaged in all these activities, I think young Barry should be raised by him. So when I go back to Indonesia, you should take Barry to this guy's house 3 times a week and spend his childhood with him. Now that makes no sense unless Davis is the actual biological father.
And let's be clear, the grandpa, Obama says, would take him over there.
Oh, absolutely. We have.
Unbelievable.
I spoke to the neighbors, former neighbors of Frank, who are living, and they said that Barry, and they've been interviewed by other people, that Barry came over at age 10 about 3 times a week. And we have Obama himself in his book, Dreams from My Father, where he chronicles and talks about Frank.
Listen, it's his dad. I can't believe this. This is so big. And I want to talk about where you got the photos of her in the Betty Page stuff with the other women. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. We'll be right back. Dreams from My Real Father, directed by Joel Gilbert, a story of Reds and deception. But again, you got CIA people involved in all this. It looks just like him. And then there it is, because we've got Dreams of Our Father. I checked it when I got this video. He does talk about going to his house every week, and him and his grandpa having this little secret. And then his mother. I mean, it's her in these photos. Let's go back to this. How did you get these photos, Joel?
These photos from several researchers who have to go unnamed. They are actually folks up in San Francisco who use something called Usenet. It's these binary photo collections of all kind of erotic photos from the Betty Page era, from the old.
And now they can use face scans off the photos to digitally analyze. And I know you blur the folks out, but they're in the film. You've got some of these sources in the film.
Absolutely. We also show that you can see the teeth of, even as much as the photos look identical, you can even see there's a match for the teeth. And we've absolutely established, both from the timeline, the house, the objects in the house, even the couch is an exact match to the couch that Frank Marshall Davis sat on in many photos.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you've got him. This is incredible. It's Obama's dad.
Well, let me tell you what this means, though. People say, oh, that's his dad. Let me tell you what it means. Obama sold himself to America as the multicultural ideal. He was above politics because his father was a goat herder from Kenya, so he could bring people together. That's how the story went. So people perceived Obama as a nice man with an inspiring family story. This film demonstrates that it is much more likely that Obama has a deeply disturbing family background that he hid in order to hide a Marxist political foundation. If that's true, which we believe it is, that means there was no improbable love that he talked about in his convention speech. We have a probable liar in the White House and a probable forger of documents, all to hide this political foundation, which is now revealing itself as a socialist Marxist foundation that Frank Marshall Davis himself helped to nurture in Hawaii and in Chicago.
Sure, but just to be clear, Frank Marshall Davis, the same house, the same couch. He is an admitted photographer, writes a book about his porno, type exploits. Obama admits, or Barry Soetoro, that his grandfather would take him over there constantly when he was a kid. And then you've got the photos. I mean, this is open and shut. This should be massive international news right now.
It should be. It's quite disturbing that the main news outlets, the so-called mainstream media, including some conservative ones, the only conservative site covering it is actually the WorldNet Daily's done a great job. They even have a new magazine where they wish Frank Marshall Davis on their WorldNet Weekly Happy Father's Day, because they're the only one recognizing and covering it. And the reason for this is because Obama's election was not a sudden political phenomenon. It was the result of an American socialist movement that for 30 years has been quietly infiltrating the economy, universities, and the media, such that we've gotten to the point where the so-called media is simply an extension of the Democratic Socialist Party and will not cover anything that reveals anything negative about Obama. We've come to a very frightening state of journalism and First Amendment in this country.
This is incredible. Your film just came out. Are you authorizing folks to put this on Access Television or to have screenings if it's not for profit?
We're inviting people to contact us on the website to schedule screenings so we can coordinate the screenings around the country. We have someone actually who's coordinating a very large screening in Charlotte, in North Carolina, for the same week as the Democratic Convention. So we're going to have a counter convention going on.
Oh yeah, this should be handed out everywhere. I mean, I would just recommend, because I know a little bit about viral campaigns, guerrilla campaigns. I would call for the screenings to be coordinated with press and stuff. That's great. But I would tell everybody to air it on Access Television as long as it has a link back to your website. Because I'm telling you, Access is one of the best secret weapons out there. If you authorize people to do that, if they email you, they will put it on and you can reach millions, because there are thousands of these channels, and in the aggregate, it's millions of viewers.
Yeah, they should email us, and we'll approve those one by one. But you would think there are 100,000 journalists in this country, Alex, 100,000. You would think that one of them would want to win the Pulitzer Prize. All they would have to do is look at the research in this film and put it in a newspaper on a website, and you've won the Pulitzer Prize. You've got the story of the century. You showed that the President of the United States ran for president and was elected on a false background, which he intentionally promoted to hide an agenda that was irreconcilable with American values. This is the story that has to be told, and that Americans should all buy the DVDs.
And I mean, even when he was a teenager in college, all these top communists treated Obama like he was royalty because he was the son of their god, the ultimate anti-American commie. We'll be right back. I tell you, you got to pray for Joel Gilbert. I can feel the angel of death's wings flapping around, even covering something like this. Because let me tell you, this is dangerous stuff. I've seen the film. My gut tells me this is Obama's daddy, and the evidence all points there. We know that guy in Kenya looks nothing like him. We know the State Department said it wasn't his dad and threw him out. We know Obama's got fake Social Security numbers, well, the Social Security number of a dead person. The list goes on and on. The film is available by Joel Gilbert, Dreams of My Real Father, at InfoWarsShop.com, or by calling 888-253-3139. And he could charge $30 for a film like this. He charges $14.95. That's what we're selling it for. Get a free Citizen Rule book and Infowars.com, bumper stickers and stuff when you order it at InfoWarsShop.com, or again, 888-253-3139. Everybody needs to get this. Call your neighbors over and show it to them. This is a very important film. It sold me. Everything, just click, 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 click. It's like, that's it. That is it. That is it. That is it. And then it's, again, it's in his daddy's, it just blows me away that he's got the same couch with his mother bending over on it. He says he goes over there when he's 10 every week with his grandfather, when he gets left there by his mother. He's the top commie leader involved in the foundations that later support Obama and treat him like royalty. When he's at Bill Ayers' house, when he's out of high school. I mean, this guy has absolutely been on the fast track with the commies and the big, nasty globalist foundation that are funding them. I mean, this is just disgusting to see this going on. The voice is the same. The couch with his dad, Frank Marshall Davis, I'm calling him his dad now, sitting on it, and then his mother, all spread eagle on there with other women. This just absolutely is devastating. And it needs to get out there. This is unbelievable. Dreams from My Real Father, a story of Reds and Deception, directed by Joel Gilbert. One program note, I'm not doing the Nightly News this week because I am trying to judge the reporter contest and make that announcement next week, which I will do next Thursday, maybe even earlier. I've already 99% chosen, the 2 reporters we're going to hire, the $10,000 in prizes, all the other stuff we're doing. But I should have added, there is a nightly news show every night. We had like an hour-long Max Kaiser interview premiere that was shot in Europe last night. A bunch of troops on the streets in Connecticut doing riot control at the Puerto Rico Day Parade. We have just a lot coming up tonight as well. We're having a lot of old reports we did, best ofs mixed in with new breaking stuff. And I'll be back Monday night. It's just that we've been so busy, every once in a while I'm going to do these pit stops, because once we officially launch, it's already getting picked up by some TV systems, cable, and also in Europe. They just download it off the site, giving them permission. They edit it together and do weekly specials. Some cable systems are trying to take it live when we send it out. But when I put in the uplinks, everything else in the next phase, then we'll never be able to take a hiatus. And so I'm gearing up with more reporters, more people, more editors, because we've got a skeleton crew, and we're never able to finish all the new projects because we're so busy just handling what we've got in front of us. So the next level is coming soon at InfoWars Nightly News. We have a 15-day free trial running right now. PrisonPlanet.tv, weeknights, 7 o'clock Central. All my films, the video streaming live of this radio show, 3 hours a day. We call it InfoWars Live, all at PrisonPlanet.tv. And you financing us, we're not funded by big globalist foundations like Obama is. We're funded by sponsors and by you supporting us. Okay, going back to Joel Gilbert, maker of Dreams from My Real Father. I'm just going to sit back for the next 10 minutes and give you the floor. I'm going to have to shut up because this is so riveting. I'm going to have to literally stick a sock in my mouth. And I've got so many questions that I'm going to open the phones up for specific questions for you. Okay? So listen, listeners, it's 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231, specifically for our guests. Joel, go ahead.
Okay, let me cover a few other important things. The film details and chronicles a lot of evidence that, of course, the father is Frank Marshall Davis, and what this means in terms of how Obama intentionally misled the public in order to get elected. But the film is an entire life journey. It's essentially a counter-autobiography. You can just replace Dreams from My Father, which is proven to be fairy tale, with Dreams from My Real Father, which is much, much closer to the complete truth. So we cover his entire life history, and I want to point out a very important area, because in this election, Obama keeps talking about how he inherited a problem state of economy because of George Bush's policies, or the free market policies. Well, in fact, this state of affairs came about primarily because of the subprime mortgage crisis, and this started during the Clinton administration, because it started actually in Chicago. And guess who was in on the subprime mortgage crisis, creating the foundation for it, was none other than Barack Obama. He lied in the debates with McCain when he said he only represented ACORN for the Motor Voter Act, which was a disaster on its own, because we know the 9/11 hijackers had registered to vote under Motor Voter, as well as a lot of other voter fraud. But Obama also represented ACORN in suing Citibank, and he forced them to change their policies, their lending policies, to reduce the criteria and charge them with racism. So Obama, when working for Davis Minor, forced Citibank to settle and lower their lending standards. And then ACORN wormed their way into the Clinton administration through Henry Cisneros, and it was Clinton who ordered the lowering of lending standards across all lending institutions, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. That's what led to the big crisis, subprime mortgage crisis that exploded at the end of the Bush administration. So it's Obama himself that helped start that process that we still are struggling with today. The socialists decided back in the 80s, and these were conferences that Obama attended, these socialist scholars conferences, that they would push the Democratic Party to the far left and force them to embrace socialism as their natural ideology through polarization. They would polarize the society amongst black and white, amongst economic classes. Now they have a new strategy. They've stopped talking about problem solving. Now Obama wants to help middle-class families. That's his new story. I have to make sure everyone understands, you don't have to hardly even Google it to realize that socialist economies do not have a middle class. They have one lower class where everybody's impoverished and the political elites control the wealth and simply consider everyone else as pawns. So when you see Obama talking about helping the middle class, he has disdain for the middle class. They cling to their guns and religion. And you can see that even some of the mainstream authors that are coming out, like David Moranis in his book, he detailed the fact that Obama's mother took him to Seattle when he was 3 weeks old. So the public is starting to realize that Obama's original nativity story is false. But they're not asking the next question. This film not only asks the question, provides the answer. What Moranis details, which we all knew this for some time, is that Obama's story that he had a loving family of improbable love, and when his father went to Harvard when he was 2 years old, the family broke up. That's a lie. We know that Obama's mother applied to move to Seattle in March of 1961, at the same time that the Kenyan Obama applied to extend his visa and for a work permit, and that 3 weeks after Obama's birth, he was in Seattle with his mother, while the Kenyan Obama remained in Hawaii for 1 more year. So knowing that this story is not true, we have to start looking at, well, what could be true? And what certainly is true is that there was no Obama family. The Kenyan is not related to Barack Obama at all. I don't call him Barack Obama Sr. because there never was a junior. Don't forget they called him Barack Obama II, which means another person. If it really was the son of, they would have called it Junior. So the Kenyan Obama is absolutely not related to the President of the United States. And the problem is that he built his political career on this fable to hide a Marxist political foundation, which is completely unacceptable to the American public. I would like everyone to, again, check out the film, Dreams from My Real Father, and if you're on Skype, you can see that there's just no resemblance to the Kenyan.
Yes, sir. We've been showing the side-by-side photos and exhibits you sent us, but please, because some people just joined us, recap the entire story for people and the bombshell evidence, the couches matching, the house, the porno photos, the Betty Page stuff with his mother, Obama admitting he would go visit weekly as a child with Frank Marshall. I mean, this is incredible.
Correct. Basically, by Obama's own admission, there is no evidence that his parents were ever married or even ever met, except for a visit to Hawaii by the Kenyan Obama, which I have detailed was related to a problem they were having with the scholarship to Punahou. When Obama went to Punahou School at age 10, he went there, we believe, on a scholarship for affirmative action. The problem was he had a white mother and a birth certificate that we believe said father unknown is how they left it, because they couldn't show Frank Marshall Davis, and the Kenyan Obama didn't want to be part of the responsibility for the child. So the Kenyan Obama had to show up in Hawaii in order to get him his scholarship at Punahou. But Obama admits that there's no evidence his parents were ever married. In his book, he says that even when the Kenyan Obama died, he had no evidence that could show he was a son to make a claim on the estate. We have a ton of evidence, photographic, circumstantial, timeline, witnesses. In Obama's own words, we have evidence of an intimate relationship between Ann Dunham, Obama's mother, and Frank Marshall Davis. We have the fact that Obama admits he was partially raised by Davis, and we have an ideological mirror between Barack Obama, the president, and Frank Marshall Davis's ideology that was anti-white, anti-American, anti-capitalism, that is dedicated to the undermining of all the foundations of what makes America great. Frank Marshall Davis was a very bitter, angry communist, and I believe we have the dream from his real father in the White House in the person of Barack Obama.
And you also show how so many of Obama's speeches are word for word what Davis wrote in his own communist newspaper. I mean, it's stunning. This is his daddy. You put it all together. I mean, it's incredible. And you just happened to notice, because of his speeches, when he got excited, and in his book, where he gets excited talking about this guy he would visit with, and little hints that there was something strange with my grandfather and him, why I was being taken there. I mean, again, criminals always hide things in plain view. They love to tell. They love to leave a little nugget.
Yeah, Barack Obama dropped a number of, I call them breadcrumbs, throughout his book that he alludes to the fact that the Kenyan Obama is not related to him, and that Davis is the only person he refers to in his autobiography by his real name, of Frank. He refers to him 25 times, again and again. So I think this is the key to...
And the voice, and I mean, it's him. I mean, you know when somebody... Look, a lot of the guys that work here have sons, and you see their sons, they look like them, they act like them. I mean, you know, you can tell when somebody's their daddy. I mean, you see my dad sitting next to me, he looks just like me, except he's got brown hair, not, you know, dirty blonde hair.
I even showed the age spots. If you look at Obama's age spots coming out all over his face, identical to Davis. Obama is left-handed, as is Davis. They are literal mirrors of each other, and Obama has dropped us little breadcrumbs, but I get emails from people again and again who got advance copies, and they say, thank you, this is the first cohesive understanding where all these little things that just weren't right, all of a sudden line up.
Exactly, and that's just how a disinfo operation works, is that they throw out, they have her saying speeches when he was campaigning. We went back to where he was born, Kenya. They have it, it's all obvious. Hillary puts it out that, oh, he wasn't really born here, so everybody follows that, knowing the whole time it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well, when I was making the film, I was very careful not to reveal any of the content till it was finished. Now that it's out there, I think Americans finally have a chance to understand the real agenda of Barack Obama, and it is not problem solving and fair play. It is undermining the capitalist system and doing away with the foundation of America's greatness and exceptionalism to reduce America to a weak power in the world. And
well, exactly. I mean, Bush and all these guys are bad, but I mean, Obama, $20 billion to ship General Motors to China. Obama, carbon to everything. A foreign saboteur couldn't do this good of a job destroying this country.
Well, unfortunately, this is where we are today, and if we didn't have such a corrupt media and a complete lack of truth in the Democratic Party, every time I listen to any Democrat, there's 100% blind support for Obama's agenda with total dishonesty.
Look at how he's giving Libya and Syria to al-Qaeda.
He is not stupid. He knows, for instance, that if you run up trillions and trillions in deficit, he knows this will bankrupt and ruin the United States. He knows this.
I want to play a clip, and we're going to come back. This is with phone calls, keep you 5 minutes the next hour if you can do it. Then we got Lord Monta coming up from the UN confab, where they're openly calling for world government and the end of capitalism. But communism doesn't exist. This is Obama's mentor, wanted Americans put in re-education camps and killed. This is Larry Grathwohl at the highest levels of the underground with the weathermen, with Bill Ayers, how they were going to kill us in the camps. Here it is.
I brought up the subject of what's going to happen after we take over the government. You know, we become responsible then for administrating, 250 million people. And there was no answers. No one had given any thought to economics. How are you going to clothe and feed these people? The only thing that I could get was that they expected that the Cubans and the North Vietnamese and the Chinese and the Russians would all want to occupy different portions of the United States. They also believed that their immediate responsibility would be to protect against what they called the counter-revolution. And they felt that this counter-revolution could best be guarded against by creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest, where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be. I asked, well, what is going to happen to those people that we can't re-educate, that are die-hard capitalists? And the reply was that they'd have to be eliminated. And when I pursued this further, they estimated that they would have to eliminate 25 million people in these re-education centers. And when I say eliminate, I mean kill. 25 million people. I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known educational centers, and hear them figuring out the logistics for the elimination of 25 million people. And they were dead serious.
Oh, what's the document I got 2 months ago? The Army confirmed re-education camps have been set up. That's at Infowars.com. We're going to come back with our guest and your calls. Joel Gilbert, Dreams of My Real Father, available at InfoWarsShop.com. Stay with us. Okay, we're going to move quickly through your calls now in the next two short segments. Concept, Richard, Julio, Bill, Damien, and others. Concept in New York, you're on the air with our guest, the maker of Dreams from My Real Father. Go ahead. Go ahead, Concept. You're on the air from New York.
Yes, just to give you an idea of who I am, I was at the Bilderberg protest with the boombox and the microphone. You remember me on
Yes,
Saturday?
I remember meeting you, sir. You have a question for our guest. Good to talk to you.
Yes, it's actually more of a comment. Just from reading Bloodlines of the Illuminati, how all the presidents are linked to bloodlines of ancient rulers of the world, I just want to make a comment that, you know, his illegitimacy is definitely a compromise because they want to keep him on a short leash. And if he doesn't go with the program, am I still on air?
Yes, sir, man. I'm really trying to yeah.
Anyways, they want to keep him on a short leash so that if he does go against their program, they can just say, oh, he wasn't legitimate, and then make everything that he's done null and void. I also want to make the comment that the reason why we don't really know who his family are is that he's not really our first African-American president because he doesn't have lineage that goes back to slavery. You know what I mean?
All right, listen, I hear you. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, my comment is the main risk we're looking at is things that have to do with blackmail from other governments. If I could figure this out simply by asking the right question, once I asked the right question, who's the real father, I found the information. So when I saw that video of Obama leaning over to Medvedev, and he said, after the election, I'll be more flexible. And then Medvedev said, I'll tell Vladimir. That made my skin crawl, because Putin, former KGB head, he must know all of this, as do many other intelligence agencies. We know the United States lost its manufacturing industry. It's suspected because Clinton gave the Chinese the most favored nation status in the 90s.
And the Panama Canal, it just gets worse. Real fast. Bill in California, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Joel. My question is this. I've read Jerome Corsi's book, The Abomination, a good book. And if it turns out that Davis is the father, how do you see, Joel, how do you see your research complementing Jerome Corsi's research? Because, of course, his book is written under the assumption that Kenyan Obama was the father.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Corsi now is changing his whole thing. He knows Obama isn't who they said, but now he understands, because he worked in intelligence, that this was an elaborate fraud within a fraud within a fraud. That's standard procedure at these levels. And, I mean, Corsi believes that what has been developed by Joel is accurate.
Yeah, Corsi and I have discussed all of this several times. We were doing some joint research, and we shared some research. And he concurs with me at this point that Davis is the most likely father. And even for anyone, you can look at the video, and it's so obvious, the timeline.
It's ridiculous. Everybody, it's his dad. You can look at him, the voice. He hung out with him as a kid.
Even beyond that, the film demonstrates throughout his whole life story that Davis is his ideological father, which is even more dangerous than the biology.
Oh, but the mannerisms, it's his dad. Anything else, Bill?
That was all. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. Let's jam in one more, and you can answer it when we come back. Damien in South Carolina, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Gilbert. My one question is this. We who believe what's going on here is to be true, is what you're talking about, often meet Republicans, Democrats, fellow Americans who just are like, oh, you're a birther or you're a truther on the 9/11 issue, whatever. What is the one fact that we can just throw in their face like a silver bullet that will make them believe?
What is his mother doing on his couch, spreading her legs? We'll be right back. We'll see what his answer is. If you just joined us, you got to see the film to know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I respect Corsi. He's a serious guy. When he told me he thought this was accurate, I said, really? And I had to look at it. And, I mean, I'm convinced. And my gut's convinced, not just my intellect. And my gut, well, it's never been wrong. This is Obama's daddy. Only problem in my life is when I don't follow my gut. And let me tell you, this is his daddy. A hardcore communist that he hung out with as a child, that mommy lived by and that grandpa would bring him over to see. I mean, this is just incredible. And it's his ideological father, all of it. Dreams from My Real Father. The director and researchers, Joel Gilbert, the DVD, discounted the film at Infowars.com or InfoWarsShop.com or 888-253-3139. We only got about 4 or 5 minutes left. What do you say when somebody just says, birther? I mean, how do you respond to that? I mean, first they said his name wasn't Barry Soetoro. Now they admit that. The records are sealed. I mean, they're covering something up. You have stumbled right into it, hiding in plain view. What do you say to somebody?
Well, I tell them it's so convoluted what Obama has created. It's impossible to say one little factoid. That's why I put the film together as a 90-minute full Obama history where you can see how the story all puts together. So what I tell people is simply, Obama is taking you for a fool. The socialists, they use black people, they use the middle class, and they discard them later after they wage their war against the middle class and against any chance that minorities have of being successful by eliminating...
Well, the socialist leaders are always eugenicists that hate black people.
Well, Obama, just like Frank Marshall Davis, was in charge of recruiting blacks to the Communist Party in Chicago and Hawaii, and he was rejected. Didn't work very well because blacks were religious people. They rejected communism because it was atheist. Obama went into these communist organizations in Chicago as an organizer to recruit black people because they thought a front man with a black face could succeed where the communists had failed.
Well, that's what Margaret Sanger said. She said, we got to hire blacks, pose as liberals to kill these weeds. Let's take a quick call here. Let's talk to Julio in Illinois, in Chicago, speaking of the Chicago mob. Julio, you're on the air.
Yes, this all makes sense. Joel, we all have to have prayers for this man. This is unbelievable. I'm shocked. I'm still shocked at hearing that Weather Underground comment. But anyway, this all makes sense. You talk about Marshall's, sex praise, sex rebel book, and Obama's mother and her escapades. Barry Soetoro has the same type of tendencies here in Chicago with Rahm Emanuel, the Down Low Club, and Man's Country. And I just have a question, Joel. How can I get in contact with you to set up a screening here in the Second City?
By the way, I know Julio. He is a reporter. So I guess you just email Joel, correct?
Our website, it's obamasrealfather.com. You can send us a screening request or check all the different press reviews are up there. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely, and you can also get the DVD there if you'd like as well. We have them right here at Infowars.com. That supports both of us, but either way, we got to get this out or we have no future. Thank you, Julio. We're almost out of time. Jam one more in. Richard in Canada, 30-second question. Go.
How do you think Obama's ideological background fits into his globalist agenda of being on the UN Security Council and going to war at the behest of the United Nations?
Yeah, what do you make of that, like putting our military under UN command?
Well, Obama, as communism is a universalist ideology, as is Islamism. There's a nexus between Islamism and communism and Marxism. They both believe that American capitalism is an enemy that has to be destroyed. So by putting the United States at the behest of the UN, it's part of the internationalist agenda.
All right, we're going to have to get you back on next week to talk about this. Joel Gilbert, the film available at Infowars.com, Dreams from My Real Father. Thank you so much, and be safe. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with Lord Moncton from Rio. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones. Well, this has been an incredible Friday transmission so far. My head is spinning with the last interview that we had. The next 40 minutes or so, Lord Christopher Moncton joins us from Rio de Janeiro via video Skype while it holds up. He's got breaking news here, so we're going to go right to him. Then I'm going to have my review of the New World Order propaganda police state, Rise of the Dark Knight. And we've got the spoilers, all of it. Not too many spoilers, but that's coming up in a special presentation at the very end of the show today on the Friday edition. I'll be back this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central, live on the Sunday show. Now, Lord Christopher Moncton is the head of Science Public Policy.org. He was a top advisor to Margaret Thatcher. He's an inventor. He's also run some of the biggest newspapers in England, so he's also a journalist. And he is the guy that's broken, I'd say, more than anybody, the big stories on the fascistic control freak nature of the fake Greens, ignoring all the real environmental issues, and they're there. Believe me. and just making it a total takeover of society with carbon taxes and the rest of it. He's got big breaking news now, and they have video that they're breaking here that we're going to show you and describe for radio listeners of just the lavish fashion shows, caviar, all of it, you know, the carbon footprint, these pigs, all of them living off our tax money while they want you to die, which is what the UN does everywhere. Their whole agenda is death, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about that with Lord Monckton. Joining us from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, where they've painted Christ green and literally going full bore with the religion to give us the report. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
It's a real pleasure to be with you, Alex. And just on that statue of Christ standing high over Rio de Janeiro, the iconic symbol of the city, built in 1888. And for the first time, instead of appearing as glorious, glittering white marble, it's a lurid green color. However, the Almighty has a sense of humor, and for the last few days throughout the conference, there has been low cloud and heavy rain, so that this lurid green statue has been almost entirely invisible from anywhere in Rio.
I tell you, it's like the green horse of apocalypse, a pestilence or whatever. This is ridiculous. Of course, they have a statue there, too, in Brazil, in their capital, of Prince Charles as the Christ, saving them with his environmental lordship. But Lord Monckton, let's continue here. I know you've got a lot of breaking news. Tell us what you've seen the last few days there.
I think the most significant thing, having been to many UN conferences as an official delegate to a non-government organization over the years, is that delegates from non-government organizations, such as the one that I'm with here, which is the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, a responsible and sensible environmental group, we have now, for the first time ever, been excluded from sitting in on the official plenary sessions where the negotiations are actually going on. We are not allowed access to the world's news media either. We aren't even allowed to see copies of each successive draft of the negotiating text. The last one we saw was the one that came out before the conference even began. And so this censorship by the UN is something new. And Alex, I think I know.
All right, we lost him there.
Also sponsored by the UN, not so long ago.
All right.
And there too, they tried to ban me from the conference, but I got in that time. I got a copy of the negotiating document and revealed it to the world, as a result of which, within 24 hours, half of the document, which contained all the lunatic proposals that I had exposed, had been dropped. And the UN doesn't want that humiliation again, so it has decided that in this so-called transparent conference, in fact, nobody is allowed anywhere near the negotiating delegates. No one is allowed to see the working documents of the conference until the conclusions are merely handed down to us on high at the end.
We've been showing a video that we're going to show from front to finish that you're breaking here from scienceandpublicpolicy.org of the lavish parties, the runway models, the caviar, the giant jets coming in. I mean, this is this makes a Secret Service orgy look tame.
Well, it is extremely lavish. For instance, Richard Branson flew in here on one of his own planes, huge carbon footprint there, and his minders on seeing me in the room made him walk 3/4 of the way, the long way around the room, so that he didn't end up running into me and having to talk to me. David Suzuki, the environmental freak, he is here too. I shook him by the hand and he dived away.
By the way, he calls humans maggots.
That's right. He ran away because he didn't want to talk to me or be photographed shaking my hand. These people are running scared. They know, Alex, that it's all over. They know that the world has become cynical. And breaking news here, if you like, last week we sent spies in. They do it to us, so now we're doing it to them. Spies to go into the meeting of the International Local Government Group called ICLEI, which is implementing secretly on the ground in various places, including the United States, the measures of the so-called Agenda 21 environmental thing, which means effectively closing down the West. And these people said among themselves, they didn't realize we were listening, that they're encouraging each other no longer to use the word environment, no longer to talk about climate change, because they said to each other, we know now that the people are not buying this message anymore. We'll have to think of something else. And what this means, Alex, is that we are winning. And further breaking news on this, the pre-session draft, that's the draft of the negotiating text at this conference that was produced before the conference even began by the various beavering away working groups of pointy-headed leftists that put these things together, starts out with an admission that the world's most serious problem is not climate change, it's poverty. So they've now abandoned, officially, right at the top, the whole climate storyline. Of course, there's still waffle about it in the main text, but it's no longer described as the most serious problem, as it always was in all previous UN conferences.
Now, of course, sir, you've broken down the numbers here, but tell people briefly what would happen if they were able to put their carbon taxes in. Because, yes, we've defeated them on the surface, which is a devastating victory, another wonderful victory, and they're imploding, as you've chronicled and helped engage in. But they're still implementing by stealth and at a state and city level, as Schwarzenegger said they would do, leading their attack flotilla 3 years ago in Copenhagen, and they have gone with that strategy. So what's going on? Well, I guess you don't know fully what's going on because they barred you, but I know you have spies inside.
Well, that's right. We were able to get into the ICLEI group meeting last week, and they told us everything because they thought we were part of them. They didn't realize we were, in fact, not part of them. And so they were very frank that they wanted to fool the people by using the environment as an excuse. But they were no longer willing to use the word environment. They're no longer willing even to use the word green. It's now hated by the majority of the voters. And they're no longer talking about climate change either, because they have now realized that the public have seen right through this nonsense, and that if they were to go on using that language, then ultimately they would completely lose the argument, if indeed they haven't completely lost it already. So what is happening, of course, is that around the world there are these local authorities at local government level trying to put into effect what the UN wants, which is the instrument of effectively global government interfering at a local level. That's what ICLEI is all about. And anyone who believes in democracy ought to be concerned about this and worried that they are no longer willing to speak honestly, and that's why they won't use the phrase environment anymore. They won't use the word green. But they're being dishonest with us. What they really want is absolute totalitarian power.
And we're going to break down what else you've learned. I just made an error because your office pointed the video out to us. I misunderstood the crew. The video of them lavishing themselves with the runway models and the caviar and the champagne is from, and of course you would know this because you're in Rio, cfact.org. I've seen some of their other videos. They're doing a great job. That's another group I need to get on the show.
CFACT. Right. In fact, I am here as a representative of the Committee for Constructive Democracy.
Good. So we were corrected. Okay, that's why your crew gave it to us. Yes, okay, good.
Absolutely. These are my team here, and I am part of their team, if you like, and they are...
Okay, good. That's where the confusion, because I was told, here's Lord Monckton's footage, we're breaking it, and so now I understand. So we are correct. Go ahead.
It really is.
Wonderful job. Let's just move on from that now. What else do you know? We're about to go to break. What else is breaking there?
So the most important thing is that there's a feeling of absolute alarm here, a gloom on the part of the usual suspects. They've got children, they propagandized children they're exploiting, and they've got them to do posters showing the sun dressed up as a doctor, talking to planet Earth, and saying, the disease that you've got is humans. In other words, little children are being taught by these left-wing extremists that humans are a poison on the planet and should be wiped out. It couldn't get more serious than that. And
that is big breaking news. That's what they do, is they push this idea that humans are a disease, but now they're brutalizing children with this to wreck their self-image. I've been told of Austin children in first grade or kindergarten crying when they come home because they're filthy devil humans. This is child abuse.
It is exactly that. It is illegal in Britain to do that to children, and it ought to be illegal in the United States too. So if any parents are listening to this or watching this and have heard their children being propagandized in this way, then they should complain to the police about child abuse, because that is, you're quite right, Alex, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, it's the worst time. They're telling children they're crud, they're murdering the earth. All right, Lord Monckton is our guest with breaking news, and he's there working with the great folks. I've been seeing their videos at cfact.org. He's working with that organization. Tell us what else you're discovering and finding, because, ladies and gentlemen, when I get up here and I say it's child abuse to tell 5- and 6-year-olds humans are scum, I saw an ABC News of Australia. Look it up. They have a video game they make the kids play at school where little pigs and chickens and goats and cows have their heads chopped off and blood sprays. This is 7- and 8-year-olds. When the humans take up too much carbon, and then humans, though, can kill themselves. Now, suicide is exploding. Promiscuity is off the charts with the diseases and the abortions. People don't care about themselves anymore on average. They don't care what the government's doing. This is large segments who buy into the hype. A lot of people just buy into hype. They do whatever they're told. I have talked to mothers at homeschooling group meetings who took their children out, professionals, doctors, lawyers, because one mother starts telling it and the other dad starts telling it while they took them out of public school, because they'd have their 6- or 7-year-old, some cases 5-year-old, at Austin public schools. This is all over the country. And they tell them, you're killing the earth, you're hurting things. So when they drive by a housing development or something, the little girls cry and retch and say, I'm killing bunnies. Ladies and gentlemen, these people are the scum of the earth. They want control of all the resources. Lord Monckton, what do you do about this level of criminal filth that have turned the schools into re-education camps?
Now, the first thing to do is to do your best to try to get real hard evidence from inside your child's classroom of what is being said to your child. There are various ways you can do this. Get in touch with your local homeschooling group. There's 3 million children in the States now educated by homeschooling groups, so they're free of this propaganda. But they will tell you how to find out what is going on in your child's school, what is being said to your child, what kind of threats and bullying is going on in the name of saving the planet. As you know, Alex, the planet was triumphantly saved 2,000 years ago. It doesn't need to be saved again. But this is this propaganda that humans are a disease on the earth. This propaganda which is being spread by images drawn by propagandized children here at the Rio conference. This is, and your phrase is absolutely correct, it is child abuse. But you need to get, if you're a parent, the hardest possible evidence of what is being said. And then you need to go to your local police or FBI and make a formal complaint, because it is a criminal offense to abuse children. And the abuse can be mental as well as physical. And this is mental abuse of children if they're reduced to tears by these appalling, foolish stories about how humans are killing the planet. And you need to go and report it and go on reporting it until somebody in the public services does his job, investigates and arrests these teachers and sends just 1 or 2 of them to jail. That's all it will take. And the rest of them will run for cover and will not dare to try to peddle this sort of propaganda to 6- and 7-year-olds ever again. It is disgusting. Again, your word, Alex, and you're absolutely right. Children have a right to the innocence of their childhood. they should not be exploited by the hard Marxist left among the teaching profession, and the way to stop them is to find out very carefully exactly what is being said to your children, and then if what is being said is something that you think amounts to mental abuse of your children, do not take it lying down. You should certainly, of course, complain to the head teacher, and if you don't get satisfaction there, then complain.
And remember the teacher that said if you criticize Obama, you'll be arrested. And we have the tape 2 years ago of Al Gore to a group of middle school students at elementary saying, your parents are wrong. You go tell them to support the carbon taxes right now. I'm sure you heard that.
That is illegal in Britain. He could be taken to court for that if it happened in Britain. In America, thanks to the right of free speech, you can even say that kind of thing to children and get away with it.
Hey, tell folks you got his film removed from schools, proving it was a fraud.
What we did was we got them, in order that they could show it in schools, they had to send 77 pages of corrective guidance around to every school.
So they had to stop showing it in effect. Yeah, exactly. Stay there. Other tidbits of what's happening at this criminal confab. Straight ahead with Lord Christopher Monckton. Scienceandpublicpolicy.org. Check it out today. Okay, Lord Monckton, we've only got about 7 minutes left till we go to our next report. Really appreciate you joining us from Rio. Obviously, next week or in the aftermath, you can give us the full data dump. The fact that they're not releasing their agenda and their plan shows that they are cratering. What do you expect them to do now? A, B, what are other pieces of intel you've been able to glean there on the Brazilian coast?
I think the most important thing is that because they have withheld each new draft of this document as it is negotiated, they are plainly frightened that we would do to them what we did to them at Durban and at Copenhagen, which is to reveal the sheer nonsense that the negotiators have been putting into these drafts, so that when the public laughs at them worldwide, they have to drop it from the draft. This time they want to keep it all secret right until the end of the conference, and then announce that all the draft, including all the silly things they had to take out at Durban, they're now trying to put them back in again, has been accepted and is therefore de facto, it's all done, there's nothing anyone can do about it. That's their strategy. It is going to fail because with CFACT.tv and CFACT.org, with whom I am on this trip, we will be producing the most detailed and factually based analysis of the final document when it eventually emerges that is available anywhere. And you will then have the chance to get onto your politicians, in particular in the United States, your senators, in case they try to get any new treaty through based on this document, and say to them, there is no legitimate basis for any treaty based on anything coming out of the conference here in Rio. We will provide you with the detailed ammunition. We will send it to you for posting at Infowars.com, so that you have the details as well. And you can, of course, get all our reports from CFACT.tv and CFACT.org. And if you want to take part in our petition to world leaders, telling them to pay no attention to the Marxists and pointy heads assembled in large numbers here in Rio, then please go on to CFACT.org and make sure you vote in that petition. You can participate. If you will participate and help us in this way, this will make sure that the message gets through to our political leaders that we will not take this lying down. We will not allow negotiations in democratic countries to take place behind closed doors at these international gatherings. We will not allow this obsessive secrecy, because the rule is very simple, Alex. If they only hide something if they've got something to hide, and they're hiding the entire negotiating text. That means they are running scared of the few people here who, like me, have seen through this nonsense and are not going to let them get away with it.
Now, undoubtedly, you've got moles sneaking around, and I mean, hopefully hackers don't get in like last time and get the climate emails where they admit it's all a big scam. I mean, I've got a feeling, how long is the conference running? I've got a gut feeling we're going to end up getting a leak.
The conference is due to finish today, whereupon, of course, the text should be available. But as you know, Alex, the way they script these things for the left-wing media, and that means nearly all the media, is that they always go into an extra day or two, and then at 4 in the morning, a day or two after the conference should have ended, they emerge with their ties around their ears and their hair all in a mess and their unshaven faces and a wan smile on their face and saying that we've done it, we've reached agreement. The general feeling so far among the left is that they're not going to get what they want, even behind closed doors. They're not going to succeed in getting what they want. But, of course, they will declare it a victory anyway, as they always do. But we will be telling you in detail what the truth is about what they've decided. We will summarize the long, turgid document that comes out. We will explain, for instance, that capacity building, when you see that phrase, means creating enormous bureaucracies which become permanent and start acting as leeches on the taxpayers. We will explain all the UN gobbledygook so that you understand that what is really being done here is yet another attempt to turn the United Nations into a world government. I've been shoved aside by UN goons here. Just a couple of nights ago, I was dining at a fashionable restaurant, standing outside waiting for my car, and up comes the dictator of Rwanda, surrounded by wagons full of UN goons. One of them gets out and pushes me into the rose bushes nearby, so the dictator could walk unencumbered into the restaurant. This is the UN regime we are all going to have to know and hate as it evolves. They are becoming more arrogant as they get more money and power from the UN's member states. And again, all around the world, if you're watching this, there is one thing you could really do to help here. That is to get your local member of parliament or Congress to ask an official question about how much money is paid by your country to the UN IPCC, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change.
So they can fly around constantly, guzzling alcohol, partying, prostitutes, it comes out. I mean, it is incredible.
Ask your parliamentarians to find out how much this is costing. Because in Britain, we are drawing up plans in the United Kingdom Independence Party to leave the UN. There's no longer any point belonging to this organization. And we are moving towards, it's not yet settled, but we're moving towards the idea that we should leave the UN. As Switzerland's already done, they've never played any part in it. Just come out and stop paying.
It is, look, the UN has been caught, as you know, even in the New York Times admits it, lining people up in Africa and Latin America and shooting them to take their property. Lord Monckton, thank you so much, and we'll get a debriefing from you when you get back to the UK. Thank you so much.
Real pleasure. God bless America.
Well, God bless you guys out there fighting against this tyranny. Thank you so much, Lord Monckton. Wow. So much happening there. And again, this is not hyperbole when we talk about how evil they are. They have countless publications, and I want to see this new one, where they tell children they're evil, you're a parasite, you're scum. We've shown you the cartoons and other things. I am now going to... You guys get me a glass of water, I'm not going to be able to continue. Thank you. Eating peppers while he was talking and then don't have any water. Thanks. Again, ladies and gentlemen, very important to expose what the United Nations is up to. It is absolutely imperative that we become aware of this and that we expose them. Everywhere I go, I see propaganda. I'll just get up and get it. Yeah, I needed water earlier. I need to get like a water cooler in here or something sometimes when this happens. Thanks a lot. I love hot stuff, but sometimes a little bit of it goes down by your lungs. It's over. Oh, there we go. I basically drink Tabasco, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's like salt now for me, but we're going to have to obviously skip the network break coming up. Stations out there should not be running over this. Speaking of wonderful stations, let me give you a plug. Just this week, we've gotten 2 new affiliates. WGPA, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and the biggest station in Knoxville. We've been on outside Knoxville, WBCR, for more than a decade. They're great folks, weekdays, but they're picking up the Sunday show on WNOX, 100,000 watt FM. So very, very exciting. WNOX and WGPA, very thankful to all the great affiliates. We're getting a couple new affiliates every week. The show is exploding. And there you have it, WNOX 100.3. Wow, front page. Front page promotion there. We just went to the site and we're front page. So they're testing us out on the weekend to a little bird might tell me, maybe move into where Neil Bortz is when he retires. The point is that the show is exploding all over the country as people discover that this is unscripted, no teleprompter, no notes. What we've said, even though it sounds crazy, is coming true. It's really happening. Now, after my professional coughing fit on air, people will ask, why are you doing movie reviews of Prometheus or of the new Batman film that is coming out? Why are you doing this? Well, it's because there are more messages implanted in popular culture than there are, even in the news. That's just one level of propaganda. And whereas I like a good movie, I like a good entertainment fantasy movie, it's fine. When you see messages in these films, you need to be able to point them out. And by pointing them out, we get other people who've never thought about any manipulation going on to start thinking for themselves. Now, Batman: The Dark Knight Rises is coming out July 20th. And I mean no ill will towards people that made it, but it's full of propaganda. So we review the last two films and now the third film. We have talked to folks that have seen screeners of it in focus groups, but they made some changes since then. So we're not 100% sure on the entire plot, but that's not even what we're really even doing here. We are analyzing just from the trailers and some other information what the films have contained and the message that they're selling to the public. So here is our review ahead of time, our breakdown of the propaganda from the leak we have. That's pretty much the whole film, but there's been some few changes, we're told, and more, and from the trailer, and again, the last two films. So here it is, and then don't worry if you're a radio listener. In the next hour or so, we'll post it at Infowars.com. It's not on the web yet. I'm going to premiere it here. The audio for radio listeners, the video for people watching on PrisonPlanet.tv, and then we're going to upload it to our big official YouTube channel. In the next hour, it will be live at Infowars.com, and throughout the weekend, you'll be able to go there and watch this. Then we're going to come back after this is over and get into some other news I haven't hit yet concerning Fast and Furious, and this is looking like Obama's Waterloo. So stay with us. Here is my breakdown. Warning, there are spoilers of the new Batman film. One of the most anticipated movies in a long time is about to come out. The Dark Knight Rises. Get ready, because we are going to leak, spoil, and decode the new Batman film that's coming out. We're going to get into the meaning behind the meaning, the secrets behind the secrets. But first, understand, this is one of the most successful propaganda franchises out there selling tyranny. For all of you that say it's just a movie, for more than 50 years, the Department of Defense has paid and financed for most major action films. They all have a unified propaganda message selling you on the idea that you're powerless and that you can't protect yourself. Only shadowy groups, by violating your rights and liberties, can keep you safe. Throughout the Batman franchise, any vigilantes other than Batman are powerless, pathetic, fat, stupid, or psychopathic. To understand the conclusion of the Dark Knight series, we first have to go back to the beginning. In Batman Begins, a secret society known as the League of Shadows, led by Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson, seeks to put a poisonous psychotropic drug in the water supply to drive Gotham, the archetypal New York, into total insanity. Then he will bring order out of the chaos. And as all informed people know, governments have been fluoridating water supplies for more than 60 years, causing brain damage and cancer. So we see here in the first installment a revelation of the method, or the power structure showing you how they operate. That there are secret societies that manipulate for good and bad. Bruce Wayne, the aristocrat, the banker, the globalist, has his secretive system. And then there's the evil outlanders trying to come in and take over. In part 2, Batman, the Dark Knight, we're introduced to the Joker. Now let's analyze the underlying messages here. He is a nonconformist, a libertarian type who makes his own clothes and burns money.
Nothing. No matches on prints, DNA, dental, clothing is custom, no labels.
He doesn't go along with the mainline consumerist corporate culture. And so he's got to be a murdering psychopath who enjoys blowing up hospitals, bridges, ships, and killing police officers. But our hero, the rich banker industrialist Bruce Wayne, have developed a system to hack into cell phones and use them to create a sonar system that can give them a three-dimensional view of what's happening by using Defense Department technology they were developing to hack into all the cell phones and use them as audio microphone systems. They're able to save the city because they violate everyone's rights and spy on them without warrants. So again, it aids and abets and gives comfort to criminal elements in the NSA who on record are spying on the American people and using all of our appliances, from smart meters to computers to smartphones, to spy on us. All of it is pro-tyranny propaganda. We now move from part 2 to part 3, The Dark Knight Rises. So let's start decoding The Dark Knight Rises. Number 1, look at the name, The Dark Knight Rises. And we're told that he's willing to give it all up.
You've given them everything.
Not everything. Not yet.
Oh, you've already given these people so much. I haven't given everything. So he's this Christ figure, this dark Christ who is fighting the evil secret society led by Bane, who is coming to destroy Babylon, the beautiful city. Here's a few juicy spoilers. Batman gets his back broken in a fight with Bane. At the end, as Bane is dying, we learn that he's a Darth Vader character who can't survive without the mask, which is the recurring cyborg archetype that humanity can't live without machines. Who is Bane? He's a symbolic demon, a destroyer, a symbol of the Hegelian dialectic, order out of chaos. To the conscious mind, these symbols don't register. To the subconscious, they are clear commands, just like you're a computer. The power of Hollywood, the power of images to program the mind is not debated. And the Pentagon and Madison Avenue know that. Remember back in 1975, when for more than 2 years, the beaches were almost empty in the United States and areas of Europe and Australia because people were so scared that a giant shark was going to eat them? Psychological warfare chiefs certainly paid attention to that. Even though on average, less than 5 people die a year from great white shark attacks worldwide, people would not go in the water and were demanding shark patrols and more lifeguards for a non-existent threat. And that's what these movies do, not just these Batman films. Every one of these films has terrorists blowing up major cities constantly to create the psychological illusion that there's big sharks out there that want to eat you, and there's terrorists under every table that want to attack you and your family. And you notice at the end of Jaws, the shark has been killed. He's been defeated, but still the beaches remained empty. You are being subconsciously programmed. When you go in one of these movies and just turn yourself over to it in suspended disbelief, you become a willing victim to have your mind literally programmed in that key fear state. Because when the mind is in that fear state, it is wide open to be reprogrammed. And now in the new film, we see the football game blown up. We see the police helpless if the state doesn't take every right we've got and turn our children against us and set up highway checkpoints and launch 30,000 armed drones and listen to our phone calls, then none of us are safe, because the non-existent threat of Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda and Bain are going to get us. The key to understanding why the social engineers want males in an arrested development junior high mentality state is simple. Through thousands of films and video games, we are bombarded with the idea that threats always come in the form of a giant evil monster or terrorist who openly announces themselves, not through slow cultural death. And men are presented with an idea of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Herculean figure, or somebody like Batman, defeating the enemy all by themselves because the public is powerless. That's why now when I talk to so many men, they say, oh, you're such a hero. You go out and confront politicians. You go out and, fight for freedom. I'm glad you're there. What do you mean? I'm just an average person like you. We're not fighting big green Martians from Mars. We're not fighting, shadowy groups like Bain, unless you talk about the private Federal Reserve that's hijacked this country. We're fighting the New World Order. We're fighting a corporate takeover system with regulations and red tape that doesn't announce itself as an enemy, but that just oozes in with bureaucracy to dominate and usurp our lives. We're fighting the UN and Agenda 21 and a federal government bought and paid for by foreign interest engaging in treason. When you're conscious or awake, aware, watching, when you don't suspend your disbelief, you see the programming, the manipulation, the hypnotic suggestions right there like it's written on the wall. But when you're unconscious, like the general population, you are wide open to be victimized by this programming. Hey, I like a good action adventure movie as much as the next person. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a film if you're aware of the implanted images. But it's important that people become conscious of the manipulation that's going on. So please share this presentation with your friends and family and visit Infowars.com/Batman, where we've posted some other examples of brainwashing that are taking place in our culture. That's right, and we are going to post that video in the next hour at Infowars.com at that URL that we just mentioned. It's not up yet. We'll add some documentation, other film reviews that I've done. We're going to be showing a bunch of my film reviews tonight on the Nightly News, 7 o'clock Central at prisonplanet.tv. Now, again, foolish people out there will say, oh, it's just a movie. We showed documents during the video, if you're a radio listener, that show where foreign governments, the Pentagon, corporate interest all pay for even the script writing of these films. They pay to have things written into the script. They pay to have subliminals added. It's all there. And you're being bombarded. There's a reason the public, many people are like zombies. There's a reason people don't care about themselves. There's a reason, because the whole culture is telling you overtly you're trash and that death is good and kill grandma and kill children up to age 3 and euthanize everybody. And they're teaching the kids that they're scum and that humans need to die and that we're hurting the earth. And then there's covert messages that we're scum and trash and garbage and that it's sexy and cool just to die. We're being programmed to turn off our survival instincts. We're having our human propulsion system deactivated. We're having our rudders, our compass removed. And so it's just a bunch of aimless people looking to the television, looking to the culture to give them guidance. I follow what you say. Why aren't I happy? And the system's like, do more of what I say. Take some Prozac. Mutilate your body. Take these drugs. Do all this. That will fulfill you. And then it doesn't fulfill you. And you think, oh my gosh, I better do more. But you're not even thinking. You're just subconsciously being programmed and following what they tell you to do. grown men are like children, most of them, when I talk to them. Children. Women. I mean, look at the feminist revolution. Women act, on average, like complete pieces of meat. They're totally unhappy. They're running society now. I was down at UT yesterday shooting footage for another report we're going to air next week. And it was nothing but women. And then, who was it, Jacobson, or was it, no, Jacobson wasn't there. He was putting that piece together. It was Aaron, it was Rob Dew. One of them had read the statistic, and it was true. I was about to say it. They looked at me, and they said, I forget which one it was. They were walking across the parking lot from the Natural History Museum. And they said, yeah, because women pay back their student loans. It's just amazing when you realize all the programming and the deeper you get into it. And again, it's not that we don't want to empower women. It's not to empower you. Your new husband is the state. He's going to abort your babies. He's going to inject you with cancer viruses. He's going to give you breast cancer, and he's going to chop your body up and sell your organs when you die. That's a loving husband, isn't it? It's nice to see men, your boys, falling apart. It's great. You're ruling the roost. As Hitler said, first you get the women, then you've got the children, so follow the men. And 80+% of advertising targets women. And not all women have succumbed to it. Men have turned in, on average, to just total jellyfish, arrested development about age 12 mentally. Women are hyper tarts on average, but can't find fulfillment and are going completely insane. You know, the police are out of control on average because the public's out of control. We are a immoral, degenerate, filthy, fallen society rotting. And we're not going to be able to turn that around without recognizing it. All of us. Recognizing good from evil. On the Fast and Furious, again, House Committee suspects a cover-up, no kidding, and they're still going to have the meeting with him, but they're saying they may compromise. That's terrible news. We need to bring criminals to justice, not set the precedent they can do whatever they want. More coming up, but I will be live on the radio this Sunday, 4 to 6. Be sure and join us.